Blood drains. Hospitals located in Europe used to use leeches for medical procedures. During this time, doctors started developing leeches that were specifically made for medical procedures. They were called blood drains. They were genetically modified versions of European leeches, but were much longer and were more painless when draining the blood from patients. They were officially finished in 1848 by nurse Pamela Stein, who was then uncredited, and her husband Alexander Stein took credit. The blood drains became a very reliable medicine and method of draining diseased blood out of patients. The creatures were said to grow up to 2 to 21 centimeters long, and they had sharp teeth that had sticky mucus on them so they could grab bacteria and blood that were microscopic. The creatures were said to be initially decomposers and carnivorous, which led to doctors trying to feed them prior to a procedure. However, they were still hungry and ended up attacking humans during procedures anyway. The blood drains were desperate feeders, if you will. They usually ate plankton and small krill, but when they became desperate and are still hungry, they'll eat the first thing they see, and that just so happened to be the patients. Quote from Dr. Alexander Stein: "Despite this, the doctors were desperate to keep this in the dark and hid the bodies. But the truth was uncovered when one of them drained the blood out of a 9-year-old boy named Victor Wilson and refused to let go. His teeth started impaling the boy's arm where it was placed. The boy passed out from lack of blood in his body, and he died. 25 others were killed by the blood drains prior to this. They hid the deceased in storage units buried deep underground and told families that they were in a deep coma that was disease-filled. Somehow families fell for it and just assumed they were asleep. It took a young innocent child to die for the doctors to finally do something about those slimy demons." Quote from Xavier Stoneman, doctor at one of the hospitals that used blood drains. In 1889, they were deemed too dangerous and the blood drains were sealed up in basements of the hospitals afterwards. It is unclear why they didn't just kill them. However, the creatures still found a way to slip out of the cracks of the basement doors. In 1895, a doctor was attacked by one of the blood drains, who slid into the doctor's esophagus and made him gag for a solid 40 seconds, and eventually killed the doctor. Blood started flooding the doctor's mouth. No one really knows why this doctor was attacked. Some say they were just hungry. Some even claim they felt hatred and attacked the doctor because he helped seal them up. When an autopsy was performed on the doctor, whose name was Gregory Hines, it was revealed that vital organs and intestines had bite marks and partially ripped off inside the body. The blood drain was sliding around, laying eggs in the stomach area. I've never been so disgusted in all my life. The creature was oozing black goo inside the body and was making tiny slimy noises as it moved around. Its pure glowing white eyes were menacing as its black worm-like body shook violently as we pulled it out. The eggs started hatching and they squealed and cried for food. The doctors picked them up and squished them so they wouldn't become adults and start this mess over again." Quote from Laura Wallen, nurse. Photographs of the autopsy corpse were lost to time, burnt, torn, and some were told to not be published due to the contents, but reports have been recovered, albeit in poor quality. Most hospitals containing them have been left to rot with them inside. One person in 2012 went inside and ran out terrified, his eyes in a wide expression of shock and pain. His skin was incredibly pale, and he hasn't said a word since. A photo taken from inside has been resurfacing and probably fills in the details of what he saw. The photo is speculated to be a blood drain, fully grown. The man then finally spoke out and said, "I wanted that photo to be long forgotten. You made me remember the worst night of my life. That thing was evil. I saw bodies of deceased piled up in an office space. I saw pools of blood dripping from his sticky, sharp teeth. I was lucky to get out and forget. Not anymore, thanks to you." The man has recently passed away in 2019 from a supposed suicide. That's a fun little short one. If I'm being a stickler, it doesn't really match up with the anatomy of leeches. Even if they were hybrid, that's not how they look or act. But, that's cool. That's fun. Use your imagination, don't take it too seriously, and it's not bad.
My daddy sleepwalks.
Hi, I'm Zach. I'm 7 years old and found this site. I decided to use it because maybe someone knows how to help me. My daddy has been walking in his sleep. He's been doing this since Mommy started sleeping outside. Since then, he's been moaning in his sleep and walking up and down the house. I asked him about it a few months ago and he said, "Everyone does it." I started doing drawings to explain why I feel scared of him. I keep my distance from Dad when he's awake. I hope Mom decides to stop sleeping soon. Dad misses her. I think I saw Dad yelling at her outside, crying. 2 weeks ago I saw him sleepwalking again. He was wielding a sledgehammer and weakly whispering my name. I think he was trying to kill me. I tried to hide behind the door, but he heard a creak from the stupid floor and started aimlessly swinging the hammer. I am starting to lock the door for the rest of the time. It gets hard to sleep now. The week isn't easy to go through either. There's no water for some reason. I think that's why Daddy had a paper discussing about it. The only drinks are in the fridge. They are all in giant glass bottles and Daddy says they aren't important. Why have them if they aren't important? As bad as it sounds, Daddy's been helping me sleep better. He gave me a shot that put me to sleep for 2 hours, and when I woke up, Daddy was smiling as if he was happy I was sleeping more soundly. He had a hammer in his hand and said he was fixing something. Are hammers supposed to have red stains on them? Oh well, I still worry for Daddy. He was moving around all night with that sledgehammer and shaking my doorknob. Last week, Daddy wasn't looking too good. His eyes had black lines under them and he seemed to be thinner. Ever since, his friend has been here. He's been trying to stay away from him. He stays with us now, I think. Now that I think about it, I think he's the one who's been chasing me all night. Or maybe Daddy is him? One night I had to use the bathroom. I unlocked my door and walked towards it. Daddy's friend was nearby and started swinging the hammer at me. He kept saying, "Daddy made a mistake. Bad Daddy. Mama's gone. And you don't need to see Daddy." As he kept swinging the hammer. I ran to my room as he was chasing, and I shut the door on him and he fell down. He collapsed on the floor. I put him in his room and locked him tight. I'm scared to open the door. What did he mean by Mommy being gone? What mistake did Daddy make? I hope someone knows what to do when this kind of stuff happens. He told me everyone does this. Do you know how to stop it? I'm keeping him locked up until I know what to do. I hope Mommy wakes up. I hope Daddy comes back. His friend scares me. I tried calling 911, but they laughed at me and said I was a spoiled, unthankful brat. Are they really that mean? I tried the next day and the phone wasn't working. The cord seemed to be cut. I then tried going on the computer and seeing if I could talk to anyone and see if they could help. This was a site that popped up when I first opened it, and it said I could share stories on here. That's where I am now. Do you guys know anything? Well, I think that was a fun little romp. Seems like Daddy is schizo, and he killed his wife, and somehow got away with it, and then his life is going down the shitter, and he's becoming an alcoholic, and unfortunately this little kid is kind of just stuck there, being harassed and tortured by not only his father, but his father's split personalities. It's actually a good premise. I like it. If it was expanded on, if it was longer, I think it'd be a good read. So that's it for now. Thanks for sticking around. If you're still here, make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye!